order. Do I have the agenda is in front of you and presented to you? Is there a motion to accept or is there an amendment to the agenda? Somebody wants to? Okay, Yolanda moves the agenda, accepting of agenda. Bill seconds it. All those in favor? Carried. Is there a declaration of pecuniary interests? Any? None noted. We've got the minutes to the previous meeting. Actually, there's two of them. One on March the 20th, 2018, and one on March the 27th of 2018. So I would take a motion to adopt the minutes of March the 20th as presented. Kathy moves those. Joan seconds those. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, I'll take a motion to accept the March the 27th meeting minutes as presented. Bill moves those. Kathy seconds them. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, move to, so there, only business arising from the minutes is we're going to talk in new business about the chief has got our new a new proposal for the budget based on our discussions here tonight and some discussions that we've had in the past. So he's going to present that so we can make a determination and get that back off to the municipality. So that's going to happen under new business. We'll go to the departmental report. We'll go to the chief's report. Chief.
Okay, you have my written report. Basically 122 calls for service. 2 of those were OPP that they weren't able to attend. During the same period in 2007, we had 93 calls, so we're up a fair number this year. I've included the statistic summary for March and also the first quarter, so you have an idea of where we're sitting after the first third of the year or quarter of the year. The small to mid-size police chiefs meeting is next week, 17, 18, 19 in Peterborough, and I have every intention of attending that. Our use of force training is ongoing with Saugeen Shores this month. All except for myself and for Hagee have completed it so far this month. The standard field sobriety testing, you may recall an all chiefs memo that came out about that, and the training is actually free. We're only paying for accommodations and meals. So we've had one officer gone on that. He's actually on it right now, Constable Smith, down in London. And we had one officer trained as a firearm certifier. That's a designation that's required when we lay firearm charges to say possession of a firearm. You have to have someone that can actually certify that it was a firearm. And that certification comes through the RCMP. And Constable Kirkby was given that course through the OPP and the RCMP online portion of the course. So we have someone that's qualified now. And I have one more thing that's not on my written report. I received an email this week with regard to the RIDE, Reduce Impaired Driving Everywhere grant that we routinely sign and send back. This year we had some difficulty getting officers to do the extra overtime for the RIDE, so we didn't use the full amount this year. But I recommend that we request or submit it by the end of this month as I requested for next year's RIDE grant, and seek direction of the board or permission of the board to go ahead and request that.
Is there any other questions for the chief? I do have a question, Chief, about that. So is that the same email that came out with regards to the RIDE grant for the 18, 19, 19, 20, where it says the calls for application. That's due, it says due May the 18th.
Yeah,
Is that the same one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay,
but I also get it from the ministry over and above the all chiefs memo.
right.
So I have the actual application form to fill out and send back to,
Yeah, this came from the minister.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure that it's the same one that you're talking about. Because the one we submitted not too long ago, that was to confirm the one we had just finished, correct?
yes,
That's the reconciliation of what we've done. So you submit, and then you do a final report to
the
confirm
final
what you've
report
actually.
is all the overtime you've done. They pay us back for it.
So the original application says how much you think you want to do, and then the
Exactly.
final one is the actual, what you actually did, and then they send you back to check on the actuals.
Exactly.
Okay, I think that's good to make sure we clarify, because I was a little bit hazy on, I thought we just submitted one and we're getting asked to submit another one, so I wasn't really 100% sure, but again, it's one of those things where you submit and then you have to reconcile. So is there any issue from the board about submitting for this application for the RIDE grant? Okay, so I will take a motion from the board to allow the chief to prepare that RIDE grant application for submission by the deadline of May the 18th. Kathy moves that. Yolanda seconds it. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, so back here. Okay, we'll move on to the bills and accounts. So bills and accounts, obviously, this is a short month, obviously, because we're 2 weeks or 3 weeks earlier than we would normally have. So $1,496, 17 cents. Is there any questions with regards to the bills and accounts at this point? I know I've asked this before, Chief, but has the communication part been rectified with
No, it's not.
Treasury? It has not? So it's not been like I mean the allocation of the bills.
Oh, yes.
That has been rectified.
Yeah.
The communication, I know the actual
I was talking about
agreement.
the contract.
The contract, I understand. I just want to make sure that the allocation is correct.
Yes.
Okay, it's been rectified. Okay. Okay, so we'll take a motion to accept the bills and accounts and approve the payments in a total of $1,496.17 for the period ending April the 5th. Bill moves those and Yolanda seconds them. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, correspondence. We've got the notice for the annual general meeting of the OAPSB, which was held, and is there anything from those correspondence on 10.1.1 and 10.1.2 and 10.2 that anybody would like to discuss?
Is anyone going to the conference?
So this is on May the 25th. I'm away. I'm away that week. So at this point, it doesn't appear that anybody is going. So feel free to, at this point, I know Chief, is that one that you go to as part of the Chiefs? Is the Chiefs one that same?
No, the Chiefs one is in June.
It's in June.
They're different times this year.
Yeah, they're always
They're
different.
always
When we went together, I thought there was a Chiefs there.
Oh, there's a lot of Chiefs that go to the OAPSB.
Oh, okay. Right. No, I won't be able to make it this year, unfortunately.
Well, the board, obviously it's available there to go. If there is an appetite for a board member to go and that can make it, feel free to advise, myself and, Richard that, or the chief or whatever, that you're planning on attending, so at least we know that, if there's anything that we want to send with that person, then we can, have that at that time. So I would take, North Huron Police Services Board hereby direct the correspondence be ordered, read, and filed. Yolanda moves, Kathy seconds. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, new business. The Wingham Police Association agreement. So this is the working agreement for 18 and 19. So I just want to provide some update from the meeting I had yesterday with Constable Kirkby, who is the association president. So the conversation about the legal indemnification issues that the board had with regards to whether they were legally indemnified or not, when they are and when they're not. The information that was sent out to the board with the adjustments to that clause and the clause of the investigation for an SIU investigation, the association has come to us and said, we will accept every one of those proposals except one. So the only one that they were not willing to budge on was the clause in the legal indemnification where I think it was in section, I think E that I had given you was the disciplinary section under any act. So any disciplinary function that the chief or the board or whatever would rectify under the association, they were not willing to put that into the agreement. First of all, when we said the act and any other act, it was quite broad, and they were a little concerned on the broadness of those acts. So basically, I tried to formulate our argument in the saying that, we want to make sure that when an association member is disciplined, that the association's on the hook for those expenses, not the board. And their argument back to us was make sure that we've got the clause in there as when they're found guilty, then they would be not indemnified. So if we get to the point where they're guilty of a disciplinary function through the act, then they would be classified as not indemnified. Therefore, then it wouldn't. But up until that point, we would cover until the fact that when they're found guilty. So their argument is you're proven innocent. You're innocent till proven guilty, and that was their argument. And they were very, very stern on the fact that they were not going to budge on that. And I think, in my humble opinion, and I will take some direction, but we've battled enough. We're at April 10th. It's not been a smooth negotiation just because of the costing and all that stuff, but it's been an interesting discussion with the new president, which I respect his position, and I think he respects ours, but it's just we need to get some clarity on that. So I think we're in our best place that we are to just let it be and be very clear that when and if that ever were to occur, that we're very confident on our approach on how we're dealing with that member. So So that was the discussion that we had yesterday. It was like I said, it was a very quick discussion. Not a lot of movement. He had talked to the members and they weren't real keen on that part of it. And right, wrong, or indifferent, that's their position. So everything else on the agreement. I have actually a signed copy of the agreement from the association tonight. So if the board so chooses, we can ratify this deal tonight with the information that is in it. Obviously, when there is an increase in compensation, so everything will then get passed on to the treasury and that information, so that it can be a public document. And there's questions from the public or questions from the news media or somebody about what is in the document and what the actual agreement was. I'm more than happy to answer those questions, but I think we have given them more than fair. In nowhere position are we at the end of this agreement, should there ever be the discussion that they are not compensated fairly for what they do for the municipality, as well as comparing them to associations around them. So we're talking that we're no longer behind the 8 ball. We've given them substantial, equitable and fair to get them to a point over the next 2 years so that they're equitable and fair, as the terminology that the association used. But I think it is a concern from me that that this is a substantial change from what we've been used to doing. We've been used to giving very, very small and very lean budgets, and we're not. We've come to the table here to make sure that they believe that we're in this for the long haul, especially now that the decision has been made from a costing perspective, that we are in here to make sure their health and safety is of importance, and that we make sure that they feel that they're being treated fairly. So is there any questions? I know you've had so the agreement that you've had hasn't changed, and the part that the legal indemnification that was sent to you is included in this. It's just that part about the disciplinary has been taken in. Was there any questions from the board about the agreement or comments or whatsoever? Because I would like to hear them.
I really don't have a comment. I think that you said it really well. It has been a tough negotiation, but I think it's been fair, and I think I'm happy with where we're at right now. Well,
I just want to make sure that we, it seems that North Huron or in the Wing of Police Service has always been garnered as the one that's behind. We've always been garnered to be behind. I think we made some great strides on compensation. But we also made a very big stride on providing them with a PTSD fund that I don't think they were surprised at when we issued it, and I think it gives them an opportunity to ensure that incidents that we've had in the past and incidents that we're probably going to have in the future, that they have the opportunity to make sure that they're seeing the people that they need to see, and we want to make sure of that. So I think that is one of the things that we have definitely, outside of compensation, like, to me, I didn't see that. I haven't seen anything like that in anybody's agreement. I'm not sure we're a front runner, but I would definitely think that I hope we're on the leading edge of that, where we're definitely trying. Now, obviously, WSIB is a part of that. They're incorporating those types of things in WSIB all the time. But I think if we can try to keep it out of WSIB and keep it in this kind of realm, I think would be better off for everybody. So I'm hoping, the positives of this agreement kind of outshine the discussion about what we provided for compensation, because I think the number is going to scare people. It's gonna be a shock a little bit, but I want people to understand that we as a police services board have been, in all honesty, we've been nickel and diming them for better part of 7 or 8 years in my mind, to try to keep economics to where they need to be. But that in saying what we're here, it's hard to keep doing that, especially when we have comparators around us, from not necessarily a size but a location and geographic, that it's hard to argue that the fact that why should they get paid something different than what ours are being paid. So that was the association's discussion, and it was, to be quite honest with you, it was very hard to argue it. We did our best, but I think that's the conversation where we're at today.
Well, I don't, even though you said we're a small service, I don't think our officers are any less trained, or you could take one of our officers and simply put them in any other service. So why wouldn't we have a salary that would be middle of the road anyways? And I like where we are at right now anyways. So I don't think that our officers are any less trained or any substandard. I think we have excellent officers here.
Any other comments?
I think we did the best we could do in difficult circumstances.
Yeah, in hindsight, it's always 20/20, and then if I had to, to be quite honest with you, if I had to do it again, I probably would have done it. I would have maybe asked them to do it a lot sooner, to see if we get an agreement before the discussion about costing. But I think, in all honesty, I think that the way we did it, I don't disagree the way we did it. With that in there, I think the information got to where it needed to get to. I think we're going to get to the point where we are. And again, we'll move on to those other agreements that we talked about. But in hindsight, it's always easier to do when you don't have a secondary discussion or secondary conversation floating around in the background. But it's one of those things where I just think we've got a position now where we've got a 2-year agreement. If the board ratifies it, a new board that comes in after the election, if a dramatic new board, doesn't have to deal with that conversation, at least for a 1.5 to 2 years. So you're definitely in a better, in my mind, you can work with the chief that's here today. You can get a good sense when the new chief comes in, because obviously that's a discussion. And then because of retirement, and then that's the discussion that. But I will say to the chief and other board members is, as we go through this next 2 years under this agreement, I think the best thing we can do to ourselves is we need to start documenting issues that will come arise on this agreement when they come around. So if an agreement or a discussion about something within the agreement is not something that we think is actually as fair or equitable as we thought it was going to be, I think we need to document those things as we go. So then when we get to negotiations, we have a laundry list of things we need to talk about, and not and not start at square one and do, but we did do that in all fairness. I think we did the right thing by doing it again. The fact that Mark is, Constable Kirkby is the new president, so I think it was fair for him to go through that, but it was also fair for Joan being the new, being vice and being through the first time. So I think we did the right thing, but the process was definitely long, I would say. Okay, if there's no questions or comments, I will definitely take the motion that the North Huron Police Services Board hereby authorizes the chair to sign on behalf of the board the 2018-19 working agreement between the North Huron Police Services Board and the Wingham Police Association. Yolanda moves that. I have a seconder. Bill seconds it. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, so we'll move on to the civilian agreement. So the civilian agreement, so in front of you is the civilian agreement. Nothing has changed here. The agreement stands as it was prior. Only thing that's changed here is compensation, and her compensation is equivalent to the compensation that was provided to the association. And just so that it is clear, this is a civilian agreement for this association, this member, this member only. When it's not an agreement for the actual position. This is an actual agreement for the person and the member, not the position that this person's in. So once that position is vacant, then that would be a discussion about new terms and new discussion. So I just want to make sure the board is clear on that. So is there any questions with regards to this agreement? Okay, I will take that the North Huron Police Services Board hereby authorizes the chair to sign on behalf of the board the 2018-19 civilian agreement. Yolanda moves that. Kathy seconds it. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, last but certainly not least, memorandum of understanding. So this was a discussion that we've had in the past and we had with the association. This has all come out of the discussion about wanting 2 fully trained officers on staff that they have requested in their agreement. It has not been put in their agreement. It's not in the actual working agreement. What this is this is outside the agreement where it's a memorandum of understanding to accept that. So what we are proposing is the only change on this agreement from what you had seen past, and I had a very clear conversation with Constable Kirkby, the president of the association, was that this memorandum is to set and understand between the Police Services Board and the association to begin the process of hiring extra officers to bring the Wingham Police Service to full complement by April 30th, 2019. And what it means by full complement is to have 2 fully trained officers on shift, unless they're transporting prisoners and that type of stuff, but they're to be on shift, 2 fully trained officers. So this conversation was that we had originally requested that this complement be by December 30th, 2019. They were very, they had came back and said December 31st, 2018. And I basically said that probably wasn't, irregardless of the dates, that obviously we did not believe that that was attainable at all based on where we are in the year and what we're going to be dealing with. So we came back with July 31st, 2019, and they split the difference. They said, how about we do April? I did have a chat, or I did have an email with the chief that said, is this doable? The chief said, it's probably not doable. However, we can try. So what I did say to Constable Kirkby, as I said, be very understanding that this April 30th deadline is not a hard-nosed deadline. Like, I don't want an association issue on April the 28th if we're still working through the process of trying to get people trained and hired and all that stuff because of issues or circumstances that are out of our control. Part of this is that we are suggesting in here, which we're going to have from the chief anyways, effectively in May, is a monthly report that says where we're at in the process. And when we see that those processes are not of our doing, then I, as the chair, will communicate to the association president what our concerns or issues are and let them be aware that in their meetings they can provide information to the chief and the chief can bring it back up to us or vice versa. I've said I want this conversation to be an open dialogue between the board and the association. And if it's through the chief or directly with me and Mark, I don't care. I just wanted to make sure that Constable Kirkby was very clear in the present that don't come to me on April the 30th and say, you've waived this agreement and say, we've got an issue now because we not got a full complement. If it's not of our choosing or not of our issue, then I think they just want to make sure the process is going as fast as it can. And I think I basically said to him, I'm going on the impression of what was presented at my council hat on, where I said I take the respect of the decision that was made by council to accept what the public had said at those public meetings, that they were in favor of those types of things. And I said that means the board with this agreement is giving authorization to the chief to do it. If we don't sign this, then we have to direct him to do that unless he's not going to do it unless we tell him to do it. So ultimately what this is doing is giving the chief authorization from the board to begin that discussion about a shift structure that has 2 fully trained officers. And what that is basically what the chief has said is basically 4 officers is the minimum that he would be hiring effectively after today if this is agreed, if the board agrees to sign this. Okay, so is there any questions with regards to the memorandum of understanding with regards to the full complement of officers? Do you have any questions, Chief? We thought we've made it pretty clear for you, so.
It's gonna be tough. Right now, some police, like Stratford's looking for 9, Saugeen Shores is looking for 1, Hanover's looking for 1, West Gray's looking for a couple. It's gonna be difficult. The pot's not that big to draw from.
The one thing I think though, what we have done though in this agreement is made us at least comparable. I think we wouldn't have been even a consideration in my mind before if we didn't do what we did, based on the hiring that we're going to do. Obviously, money talks, and that's the way it's going to be in this day and age. So I think you need to be at least in the ballpark to be even in the discussion. Okay, if there isn't any. There's no comments. I would.
Just have one comment.
Sorry.
And for the chief. So when I wrote this up, I specifically put under the goal that it should be achieved, not that it shall be achieved, so it is open-ended. This one little word.
Well, we certainly hope that we can do it. We're going to be asking for experienced and recruits. We missed the May cutoff. So plus there's no way you could hire this week and have someone on course in May. So we're looking at the fall. I'll have to get a hold of the police college, and they'll probably give us some positions to hire recruits. But I would like to see some experience come in as well. So.
Okay. So if there's no other comments, I would take a motion to authorize me as the chair to sign this memorandum of understanding with regards to the agreement between the Police Services Board and the association. Yolanda moves that. Joan seconds. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. 11.4, which is the budget discussion. The chief has
There's a discussion on budget?
there is a discussion on budget.
Oh, they're really stuck. I can't even. Oh, there we go.
Richard, I apologize. I only printed 6. I'll get you a copy. I'll email it to you. Basically, we have to hire bodies, and when we hire someone, it's going to cut into the salary. So that's going to be an increase in salary for this year. Basically, at the meeting that we had upstairs, I had said approximately 400,000, and that's what it is coming out to. I do notice that I made a mistake here on the clothing and uniforms. I have 5,000 is what we budget normally, and I put in 15,000. That is a typing error. That should only be 5 as well, because the new outfitting is 24,000 down below.
Okay.
So that is only 10,000 or 5,000. So you can take
10,000 off the bottom line.
yes, 10,000 off the 1.6 million. That hurt to say. But yeah, salaries, I've worked it out using the new numbers, and it'll be approximately $1,080,000, $345. And then benefits on top of that, I use the number of 30% for benefits. Overtime, if we have more people, we're gonna have more overtime for court. Pretty much have to go with that. The honorarium's not gonna change at all. You still have 5 board members, and that's for the board itself. I already mentioned the clothing and uniforms. I made a mistake. It's typing error. That is only 5,000. I will amend that. Meeting allowance is $600. That's not changed. That's actually the allowance that the staff get for attending the meeting. Subscriptions, with my plan to incorporate an inspector or deputy chief, we will have to pay for a subscription to the OACP for that individual, so that brings that rate up a little bit. Training travel workshops, again, we got more people, we're gonna be doing more training. That's stands to reason, it's gonna cost us more. Police board expenses, I think the board might have a few more expenses, so I put in $500 more. Office supplies, you're gonna again, with the increase in manpower, we're gonna have more. Phone, fax, internet, that's not gonna change. Our insurance is probably gonna go up slightly, given that we have more people involved. Legal and accounting, we've always allotted 5,000. Given the increase in membership, the chances that we're gonna use it are higher. So I think we should be allocating $10,000 a year to legal fund. Transfer to reserve for vehicles, we have been allocating 10,000. I think that should go up to $15,000 a year because the vehicles are gonna have to be replaced more often. Again, equipment repair and maintenance, it stands to reason that if you have more people using that equipment, it's gonna break more frequently. It's gonna go up in cost as well as fuel. Communication system, they bill us on the number of people that we use. So that's gonna go up slightly. Optic bills us on the number of people as well. So that's gonna go up. And the CISO remains the same. For a grand total of $1,636,000 for the year of 2018.
I have a question for you.
Yes,
Did you include the PTSD fund anywhere in that?
that would be in benefits.
Okay,
That's why I use 30% instead of the regular 25.
thank you.
Is that it? I believe that is a benefit. And
Yeah.
Donna doesn't have a line item for it, so I just included it on there.
But just so I think I'm clear, chief, and everybody else is, or maybe just for me, in this salaries number, the 1.8 million or 1.08 million, can you, it's the, how many officers are we talking in here?
We are talking about a total of 9 constables, a sergeant, an inspector / deputy chief, and a chief.
Wow.
I believe that's what it is.
12. From our current
7.
7, so we're actually going to 5 additional.
Under capital expenditures, we had already mentioned the firearms situation. Our firearms are falling apart, basically. They're very old. We had another one break this week. And SIG Arms will not repair it. It's just gone beyond repair, so we have to purchase new firearms. I did send an email to our supplier, and they haven't got back to me with pricing yet.
Oh, is there any other questions about what we see here? I have a little bit of a question about the overtime. I understand your logic, but I question you. So if you have 2 officers on duty, and there's an incident where an arrest or whatever in the case may be, is that then a requirement when that individual goes to court that both officers need to be at court, or you can't just have one?
That's a Crown decision. 90% of the time they want everyone involved.
So it's not a discussion about now that you've had more officers, you can have more backfilling of, or have a time or wherever you don't have 2 people going to court. You're going to have that go.
You're going to have that anyway.
So, I guess in my conversation is, what are we what are we really gaining? Like if you're sending other, so that would mean you'd physically have to backfill 2 people.
Courts, no, because they'd be going on their overtime, hopefully. They try to schedule court because it is in Goderich. For traffic court, it's scheduled during the officer's time off. So they attend when they're available. Or the chief will be able to backfill the on the road on the Tuesday that one of the officers is gone if it's only one. Last week we had 4 officers gone to court on Tuesday. That left me here. That's it. Yesterday and today they were gone on training. I was the only one working. That's what we will have to do, and we'll have to bring someone in on overtime to cover that when court happens. We're lucky with criminal court because it is held here for the most part, unless it goes to Superior Court. Or if it's an in custody trial, they want to hold those in Goderich because of the facility there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't, we might save on overtime. That could be an overestimate, but I honestly don't think so.
And I think we've had this discussion that even hiring of the extra officers, we didn't think we would get any gain on overtime. I didn't think that has been a discussion along, because I think it was 2 years ago when we actually asked the question, why wouldn't we hire more officers in order to stop the.
Because then they have to go to court as well.
Because then they have to go to court as well. So, okay.
Sometimes if trials are going to be longer than a couple hours, what we can do is swap them out. So if it's a person that's on duty, they'll go do basically they'd be able to go to court, do their testimony, and then the other officer would be able to switch out and the one would come back to Wingham and work in town here.
Right.
If we had 2 working.
Good work.
But as it is right now, they're gone for the day normally.
Right. So I'm a little confused though at the fact that the number's around 400,000, but we're going up 5 people. Like if we're going up 5 people, are you taking into consideration?
That's just for this year.
Yeah, but I know that. But are you taking into consideration that this is only like a quarter of a year or something?
About half.
Right. So this is only taking into consideration the additional 5 employees by only like a half a year, a quarter of a year, or whatever. Okay. Because I was trying to figure out where the extra, like if this was, where is this? If this was based, if we're budgeting for a full year only to have it know that we are going to reserve a lot of it for the next year when we actually have them fully trained on staff, then I can understand. But I didn't understand this because
this is budgeted for what I expect we would use this year.
So in this budget, what is based your number on? Is your number the 5 additional starting when?
As soon as we can get them.
But your number is based on when, roughly?
I put it June 1st.
June 1st. Okay. So you took the 6 months.
Half the year,
okay.
July 1st or June 1st?
June.
I said, like I picked June 1st for numbering.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just
My math's off then.
I just want to understand, because when somebody looks at this and says, well, you said 400,000, oh, it's relatively 400,000, and we were talking 4 officers, now we're talking 5, and it's 400,000. The math doesn't work. So I want to understand when somebody says to me, what is this based on? I'm saying it's based on 7 officers today, January to June 1st, and then 12 officers from June 1st to December 31st. Not saying we will have 12 officers by June 1st. Well,
No.
That's how we're budgeting that.
Probably one, yeah.
Joan has a question. Joan, go ahead.
How do you advertise?
We advertise on the township website, the Advanced Times, and we will post it on the OACP website, and I'll have the officers posted on the Police Association of Ontario website. So because we are looking for experienced officers as well.
So do we have a budget line for that?
No, that would come out of our office expenses, office supplies. It's not that expensive to advertise in the Advance Times
No.
and the North Huron Citizen.
Right. Thank you.
Is there any other questions for the chief in regards to his budget? I do agree with this, the discussion about the new firearms. Like, we've talked about this enough that
It needs to be done
it
immediately.
needs to be done. We need to do it. Let's have the discussion. I think based on what we've heard, I think it needs to happen. And I think if the fact it wasn't in the original budget, correct, Chief? I don't believe we submitted that in the original.
I had it in last year's budget.
Right, but the one that we submitted the treasury to before this one
It was,
was in there. Okay, so I just want to make sure.
but it was only to replace for 7 officers, not.
That's what, but we knew we had to buy
Yeah.
new. We're gonna you hire more officers. You got to buy guns. So it is that's okay. So okay. Okay. So if there's no questions, I would. If there's no other questions, I would take.
I do have a question.
Okay, Joan.
I think I'm just not seeing the line, but you said it would be another $24,000 to outfit?
Down at the bottom.
Down the bottom of the capital.
Go to the capital part.
Oh, okay, thank you.
That's vests,
Yeah, I see it.
belts,
Yeah,
holsters.
I totally missed that. Thank you.
That reminds me, Chief, I was going to ask during that discussion about the vests, was there any follow-up with the association as it relates to the ceramic plates or whatever that they had questioned about?
I had placed the order,
Yep,
and when the association said they wanted input,
Yep.
I canceled that order,
okay,
and I'm still waiting for what they want.
okay.
I will be going through and checking with our supplier next week. I'm going through on Tuesday and Thursday, because I have to get to Peterborough and then coming back. And I'll be stopping in to see them both to discuss the firearms and things like the ceramic plates, so.
Okay.
Get some pricing.
Maybe just follow up with the association president on that. It was them that initiated the discussion. So I think they owe it to us that if we're going to get something, that they need to give us something what they want.
Yeah, so for sure.
Other than that, so, okay, I would take a motion, if there is any other questions and the board is willing to accept the police chief's revised budget to send to treasury, if there isn't. I would take a motion to accept based on the change that the total budget be $1,636,483.31 plus $38,400 in capital. Do I have a mover of that? Yolanda moves that. Bill seconds it. Okay, all those in favor of that motion? Carried. I want to thank you, Chief, for providing the information as timely as it could be, and obviously helping us understand how your numbers are, so that we can, at least for me, when I have to go and sit in a council meeting, because I'm sure it's going to be asked about how we we come up to this discussion.
Would board like me to send this on to Donna, the Treasury Department?
That is the
With the
motion.
amendment?
That is the motion with the amendment. One follow-up question, just as I'm thinking here, Chief, the deputy part, how is that process? Have you thought that process through about what that looks like, or do you want to come back at another?
I'd like to come back and.
I think so.
discuss that,
I just want to make sure, because I think the board might be interested in knowing what that process looks like, whether it be internal, external, both.
Historically, the services hired a deputy who was going to be the next chief.
Correct.
That's historically. So I don't know if the board wants to wait until you put the advertisement out to replace me to appoint a deputy.
Mhm.
And I think that's another discussion that we need to do later.
Okay, yep, perfect. Okay. Okay, board member inquiries? None? No public gallery? And,
Tweet us.
and we do not,
Tweet you.
based on the discussion tonight, we do not have an in-camera session now because of the agreements are ratified and dealt with. So I do want to thank the board for their patience. And I want to thank the chief for his patience as we work through this agreement, because I know he's been dealing with an agreement that isn't awesome, and he's not going to be working with an agreement that's great, like that's super, but it's going to be workable. And we can try to move forward from that. So I do appreciate the board's patience as we work through it. So
I'd also like to thank you and Joan's work on that too. It spent, by the sounds of it, lots of time when we've been discussing and whatnot. So thank you very much.
you know, and I want to take this time to thank Joan. I have a busy life of my own. We would not be in the position we are today without Joan.
Thank you.
From a clerical typing, getting the discussion down on a piece of paper, we would still be in meetings. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like it would be, we would have been having more discussions with the same stuff. Let's be quite clear. So,
Just all those project management skills that have been in retirement.
so I do thank you, Joan, for
You're
your
very
assistance through the process. The next meeting, let's I think we'll go back to our normal,
Third Tuesday?
the third Tuesday in May.
Maybe the 15th.
That would be the 15th.
We're back to 7 o'clock.
We would be back to 7 o'clock, yes. Just needed to move these because I have my family math night with my daughter. So May 15th, 7 p.m. here at the council chambers. Now I would take a motion to adjourn. Joan moves that. Yolanda seconds. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, board.